All right, when the college football season kicks off this fall, it will be marking the beginning of the 100th season of college football at BYU. And to commemorate over the last month, KSL Sports BYU insider Mitch Harper has been counting down the top 100 players in BYU history, and that's why we brought Mitch in today to take a closer look at his countdown and some of these iconic players. First, Mitch, how did you put this list together? I mean, 100 players, that's not easy to get it down to.
It's not easy at all, especially at a place like BYU that's got storied tradition. But as someone who kind of prides himself on being a BYU historian, I took task to rank these players. And there has been criticisms from some of those former players, but it's been a lot of fun putting it together, and it really highlights the talent that this program's had.
Yeah, so which was a little more difficult, the bottom 25 or the top 25? It's like you're deciding on who to leave out of the top 100, then you get to the top 25, it's like, okay, who's the best?
I think the bottom 25 were probably tougher because there's a lot of players that maybe were all WAC, all Mountain West performers that maybe it blurs the lines a little bit. It feels like the top end of the list is kind of set. You know, BYU fans know the Ty Detmers, the Steve Youngs, the Jim McMahons, the quarterbacks who we'll probably get to. But, you know, this was a fun project that I wanted to tackle, and it's been rolling out this month on KSLSports.com over the past month, and you guys have been highlighting it, and it's been a lot of fun. All
right, so you've released 25 at a time in each installment. The final installment came out this week, numbers 25 through number 1. I want to start at 25. Number 25 is Harvey Unga. And the reason why I start there is because you've also got Tyler Algier, Jamal Williams in the top 25. Luke Staley is number 5 on your list. We kind of saw this shift over the decades where BYU wasn't all just about the quarterbacks. We saw running backs rise.
It's true. In the 21st century, we've seen BYU have a lot of talented players. Just maybe hasn't equaled the national success that BYU experienced in the 80s. But yes, the ground attack for BYU have been prolific. So many players, a handful, have been the all-time leading rushers in the 21st century. And Harvey Unga was one of those guys when his career ended in 2009. And then you had Jamal Williams. Curtis Brown was a guy that was in the top 100 a little bit earlier in the list. But great running backs have come through BYU. And Luke Staley, if you need a star performance for one game when you're healthy, Luke Staley, 8 yards per carry, he was phenomenal. The Doak Walker Award winner in 2001. I had him in studio and talked with him, and he, you know, is a guy that he was so good and kind of undersells how impactful his career was, but he was brilliant at BYU.
One thing I love about these types of lists is it's open for debate. For me, I thought Jamal Willis should have been a little higher on your list for running backs, but, you know, I'll save our debate for a little bit from now. You know, let's talk about quarterbacks. Obviously, they're going to be all over this list, your top 25, BYU quarterback, right? You've got Zach Wilson, number 18. I want to focus a little further, though, to numbers 13 and 14 here, where you've got Taysom Hill at number 13 and at number 14, Robbie Bosco. I want to ask you why you picked Taysom ahead of a guy who is top 3 Heisman Trophy finalist twice and a national champion.
Taysom Hill might be the greatest athlete to ever come through BYU. And in that respect, that puts him near the top. And when he was healthy, he was outstanding. Yes, early on in his tenure, there were some games where passing the football, he did struggle. But you think of that Texas game in 2014, that's one of the great memories in BYU football lore, that hurdle, that athleticism. Robbie Bosco, I think, would even admit that, you know, he was a guy that maybe isn't in the same pantheon of Jim McMahon, Steve Young. He had the Goodyear blimp floating over his head against Pitt. He was panicked, but he was brilliant. Don't get me wrong, but you know, Robbie Bosco, I think, just a tick under Taysom, and you know, again, it highlights the recent players have been outstanding in this program, and it makes you wonder, why haven't they had more success? They've had a lot of 8-win seasons. They've been, you know, consistent, but not having those breakthroughs. And, you know, Bosco, you know, getting BYU to a natty in 84, and I think the strength of schedule, you can knock that. And I think that's a part of it, where some of these current players in the 21st century, last 20 years, they've played some of the best teams in college football with Independence.
Taysom certainly had tough schedules in Independence. That wasn't an easy route for him. I still remember when he came on in that Hawaii game, breaking loose a long touchdown run and thinking, oh, my goodness, this is a quarterback who can run that fast. All right, the top 4 of your list makes total sense to me because we're going quarterback. You got Mark Wilson, Steve Young, Jim McMahon, and, of course, Ty Detmer. It feels like you can't really argue with those 4.
You can't. And it's amazing to think that those guys still stand the test of time. I don't think it's going to be darn near impossible for anyone to crack into that Mount Rushmore of BYU football, because those guys were just head and shoulders above anyone else. They almost reinvented the position, not only in college football, but in football in large. And you think, Ty Detmer had 15,000 passing yards. It would have been 16,000 had they included his bowl stats. And Jim McMahon had 75 NCAA records. And BYU and the quarterback position, it's synonymous with being one of the great positions in college football. And 17 quarterbacks were in this top 100. And it's no surprise that many of them were in the last 50 years because, BYU's been one of the winningest programs in the last 50 years, and because of that great quarterback play. It's one of the reasons BYU's got a brand that says they are a consistent winner in college football.
Mitch, great work. I can't imagine how difficult it was to put that top 100 together. You can check out the entire list over at KSLSports.com. If you have a debate about it, I think it's mharper@ksl.com.
Yes, that is the email.
Do you want to give your cell phone too, or maybe we'll just keep that?
You go to KSL Sports, or if you need to get in my text, you can send me there too.
All right, there you go. And 25 years from now, we'll reshuffle and do 125. All right, Mitch?
Sounds good.
All right.